believe in heaven? Here's a question. Do you believe in heaven?
Nope.
Various polls find that somewhere around 80% of Americans do. But a Harvard-trained brain surgeon wasn't so sure until he spent a week in a coma and came out with an incredible description of the afterlife. My co-anchor Terry Moran has a story.
A mild afternoon in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Everybody
Evan
has
and
the
Holly
same story.
Alexander are at a high school
Bullshit.
soccer game cheering on their 14-year-old son, Bond. They are a perfectly ordinary American family with an extraordinary story. They have been touched by a medical miracle and maybe more.
I mean, it was impossible after impossible after impossible.
Eben Alexander, a Harvard-trained neurosurgeon who was a skeptic when it came to religion, survived a near-death experience, and he now carries the memory of what he says was a journey to heaven, a journey that all his scientific training cannot explain.
Self-testimony
On November
don't mean
10th,
anything.
2008, Eben awoke with a searing headache. When his wife Holly checked in on him, he was having a tremendous seizure.
And I said, say something. And he didn't say anything, so I called 911.
Eben was rushed to the hospital where he worked as a neurosurgeon.
The only word we could truly make out was help. And the rest of his verbalization was purely screaming.
Eben Alexander had been stricken with an extremely rare and virulent E. coli meningitis infection that was ravaging his brain, plunging him into a coma.
I was trying to die.
In fact, doctors gave him almost no chance to live and told his family if he did survive, he'd be brain damaged
Almost
for the rest
no
of his
chance.
life.
His
Don't mean
eyes were
zero
just
chance.
off and cocked. It was just like no one was there.
Eben believes Holly is right. He wasn't there.
Did you go to heaven?
Yes. I mean, in every sense of the word, that's what my experience showed me.
His
Can't
first
prove it.
recollection, he says, was being a speck of pure awareness in a dark and murky underworld.
And
It's
then I
all
was
fake.
rescued by this beautiful spinning white light that had a melody, indescribably beautiful melody with it, that opened up into a bright valley. Just an incredible, rich, ultra-real world
Shit.
of indescribable complexity.
God was there, he says, and he encountered him through an orb of brilliant light. He soared on the
Okay, what
wing
does
of
he
a
look
butterfly with a beautiful young woman as his companion, and the young woman gave him a message to take back from heaven.
You are loved, you are cherished, there's nothing you have to fear, there's nothing you can do wrong.
It's a beautiful vision, but heaven?
A lot of people are
Nope.
going to say, Doctor, it was a hallucination.
Yeah, it was
Your
an
brain got
hallucination.
zapped by this disease.
Illusion of the
All the
mind.
wires got crossed, and you saw a girl on a butterfly wing, and you were spinning up in a melody.
I know this was not a hallucination.
Yeah, it
not
was.
a dream, not what we call a
Prove it.
confabulation. I know that it really occurred, and I know it occurred outside of my brain. So basically,
You can't prove that.
How? How can he
Lack
even
of
suggest
evidence.
that, much less claim that his experience is proof of heaven, as he's called his new book? He showed us his brain
very
scan.
diffuse thing. It wasn't leaving any part of my cortex unaffected.
So your conclusion is because all of this outer area, which is the higher functioning, was covered with the infection, what you experienced in the coma wasn't part of the brain.
Right.
Many neuroscientists are deeply skeptical of Eben's claims, arguing his brain must have produced his vision somehow, most likely as he came out of coma. But something else happened. After he recovered, Eben, who was adopted, saw a picture of a sister from his biological family who died years ago, a woman he never knew.
And I knew who my guardian angel was on the butterfly wing.
You don't know shit.
It was the most profound experience I've ever had in this life.
Your sister, by birth, and from a family that you didn't
This
know
is a
because you were
self-testimony you
adopted,
can't prove,
who
dude.
died
Don't prove it
several
to
years
anybody
ago,
else.
who you had never met,
Full of it.
you saw while you were in coma.
Yes.
Bullshit.
And that was the key. That explained
You're brainwashed.
everything. Oh, it smells good, that's for sure.
Dinner time at the Alexander home.
Come, Lord Jesus, our guest to be, blessed.
They were not a
doing that
particularly
prayer
religious
bullshit.
family before Eben's coma. He was a skeptic. not anymore.
This proves that our soul, our consciousness, our
Don't prove to me
spirit
shit, dude.
doesn't depend on the existence of the brain and body at all, and easily is actually free